we're going to move to the final level, which is the individual needs level. So at the individual needs level, again, this feeds back into what we've been talking about so far, but we're going to be looking at the training needs of each employee. So trying to tap into what everybody in our organization wants to get from their role or their job, or what they need. Now, whether or not that is something that's going to be career enhancing, or whether or not that's just keeping them in that level of conscious competence that we want them to stay at, there'll be something for everybody, hopefully, on your training plan. And this is what we're aiming towards. And again, the process for doing this is going to be different for every organization, but we're not going to veer too far from what you're currently doing. So whether or not you're doing what most people do, which is gathering those needs from the likes of performance reviews or appraisals, or whether or not that's then going in to do maybe an individual questionnaire or looking at a skills audit throughout your whole organization, we're going to stick with doing what you already do in your organization. What we're trying to get to here is a stage where we can allow employees an opportunity not only to provide recommendations for themselves, but also to provide recommendations to solve problems. So sometimes in organizations, starting these conversations is difficult because people don't know what they don't know. And that is that level that we talked about earlier on, that unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing wrong until somebody else tells me. So we're talking about new skills. Very often it's going to be a case of having to go away and research what that new skill area actually looks like and what we're going to need from that area going forward. So whether or not that's talking to your new equipment providers to say, what training do we need to operate this? Or whether or not that's going away and looking at behavioural skills and talking to organisations that specialise in those areas that can actually give you help in terms of what those skills should actually look like. Very often it's going to be down to your employees to tell you what they need for that particular skill set. So I'm struggling with A, B, or C, or I find it difficult to do D, E, and F. We can then go away and formulate the needs from that. So we need to engage with our employees to actually identify that. And the last point here, it might include self-development opportunities. And a lot of organisations previous to the current crisis, we would have always tried to encourage employees to come up with their own development path or to look at things that are going to be career developing and aspirational for them. Now, right now, I get that budgets are so tight that may not be on the agenda for this year or next year, but if we could have those discussions with staff and be honest with them enough to say, there mightn't be something on the plan that's going to build your career right away, but going forward, we're going to try and make sure there's opportunities for you either to cross skill or upskill to some degree. So that will retain people in your organization. And that's the ideal we're looking for from this. But when it comes to the process of doing this, I'm going to go into the process now. We're going to talk about different ways of actually carrying out that individual needs analysis. So in terms of the TNA process, if we could stage it, what would it look like? And it would be sort of a number of key stages: gathering information, which we've just talked about in terms of those different levels of need, prioritizing those needs, then finding solutions, communicating those solutions then, and then evaluating what we've actually done so far. But I'm going to run through this as a process for you, and this is going to be where we're going to come towards the end of the presentation. But I'm going to take you to these stages in turn just to highlight some key points for you. In terms of gathering information, as I say, looking at each of those three levels of need, the three elements of your cake, and doing at least one of these activities so that you have some element of each of those different needs on your learning plan, your learning development, or your training plan going forward. So for organizational needs, things like going through the documentation in your business and reviewing it. So whether it's your business plan, your strategic plan, your growth plan, whatever it might be. Advisory committees, engaging with advisory committees, whether that is your employee forum or whether it is your unions or whether it's outside bodies, your institutes and things like that. Getting as much advice that's going to help you guide that organizational need as possible. And the last one suggested earlier, the likes of a SWOT analysis, even at the very least for your organization, looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And as I say, if you need help with any of these, please just get in touch, let us know, we can help you do it. The middle level then, the filling in the cake, the task analysis, and as we said earlier on, using assessment centres or carrying out testing and observations. And the final level then is the individual needs level. And we just discussed that then, whether or not we pull together feedback from performance reviews and appraisals. You might want to do a survey or questionnaire. Maybe you want to do interviews, a group interview, or even solo interviews. And other areas, then you can explore maybe looking at focus groups or doing group discussions. And Invest.I can provide you support in all of these areas. So if you wish to have a discussion in terms of putting together your training needs analysis plan, give us a shout. Or if you are sitting thinking, I'm never going to be able to do all this stuff, please get in touch, because we have a team of advisors and skills advisors that can come out and actually help you do this in your organization. So right now it's completely free. Just let us know what you need and we'll help you with it. So we're going to do that information gathering stage. Then we're going to move through to prioritizing the needs. And prioritizing the needs means being aware of first of all, the background to what the structures that exist in your business are. So prioritizing needs means understanding your training budget so that we spend it well and we get the best value for your budget. But then making sure you understand your business KPIs, your business measures, because they're going to be the drivers then in terms of making sure that we meet those key performance indicators that keep our business going, that keep money coming in, and make us able to make a profit and keep the lights on and pay wages. We want to be able to define the difference between want and need. I might want to do a certain type of training, however, the organization may not need it, so it won't appear in the training plan. And that's going to be important for discussions with individuals, because you'll find that people have all sorts of career aspirations, but if they're not in line with the needs of your business, they're not going to appear in your training plan. So we need to be honest about that too. It's great to have an understanding of the different learning styles. There are lots and lots of different thinkers around learning styles, and I understand that, and there's lots and lots of different approaches. The most simplistic one that I've come across is Honey and Mumford, so I've attached it to the pack that's going out with the slides. So if you need to understand how people learn and make sure that your training meets the needs of all different types of learners, at the very least have an understanding of Honey and Mumford. And if you want more details on that, give us a shout and let us know, and I can get you lots of background information on that. But at the very least, we need to know how many learners we're talking about here, how many people are going to be included in our training plan. Is it going to be divisional? Is it going to be across the whole organisation? Is it going to be a global plan for the entire organisation worldwide? Or are we just focusing on Northern Ireland? And then, of course, understanding the likes of any accessibility requirements. Now, not just accessibility in terms of if we have somebody with a disability, is there access for them to get in and out of the training room? I mean accessibility requirements in terms of every learner in your organisation. So having that conversation with HR around, do we have anybody in our organisation maybe that has an identified educational need, maybe that has an identified disability, somebody maybe who has difficulties in terms of their previous educational background, maybe they've got special learning needs or special educational needs. That covers a vast raft of things, so it might be worth your while sitting down talking to HR about making sure that if you have anybody in your organisation that has, say, autism or Asperger's, or anybody that has even dyslexia or visual needs or hearing needs, making sure that the solutions that we put in place are accessible to everybody and that everybody can learn and everybody has equal opportunities for learning. That's really important for your organizations too. And again, if you need any additional support with that, give us a shout and let us know. But the key thing you're trying to get to here is driving the right staff attitude. So making sure that people in your organization are set up for learning, that they know that it's coming and that it becomes part of life and part of business as usual in your organization. And all of these things that we're doing are going to drive that change in attitude for your organization to become a learning organization. The next thing we're going to do then is try and find the right solutions. So I've put a list of different types of solutions here on this slide, and it looks at the green side being the more traditional side. The stuff that everybody will have had some experience of: in-house courses, going out to external courses, attending conferences or events can be good learning opportunities, doing qualifications, opportunities even for e-learning, which is probably the most prevalent at the minute. A lot of people are turning to e-learning now, and of course for a lot of training providers it's the only way they can actually do training these days. And even looking at our schools in terms of their use of e-learning as well, there's lots to be learned from that. But then of course books and journals, you know, the stuff that sits usually on the lovely coffee table in your reception area. How do we get the learning actually out of that? Never mind having those glossies sitting there where visitors can read them. How do we get the key things for the future of our business out of them and into our organizations? To the blue side, which would be the most, probably a lot of the more traditionally modern techniques, but doing the things that are actually going to be more productive for your business and more hands-on for your business can sometimes be more cost effective. So in your organizations, are you looking at coaching? Have you thought about mentoring? Do you do job shadowing? Or even sitting side by side for learning? Do you have secondment opportunities? Do you do action learning? And by that I mean getting people involved in different projects for the organisation, where they have an opportunity to do something outside of their normal role and actually learn new skills from it. Or do you use subject matter experts? Do you use people within your organisation to pass on their skills to other people? Because that can be really, really impactful and cost effective as well. The next thing we're going to do then is do a cost benefit analysis, a little bit of weighing up in terms of the solutions that we've identified. So the key things we're trying to ask here is it manageable? Is there somebody who's going to be responsible for it? How soon is it going to have a positive effect on our business, on our key measures? And what will be the negative impacts in the short term? We're wanting to make sure there are some tangible, some key performance indicators that are tangibly different at the end of the training. We're wanting to try and make sure that we're hitting the priority areas for our business first, and with the greatest input. And then we're going to make sure that there are some tangible benefits, but also then weighing that up against the actual cost. So in the packs, there's a training weighting exercise. Now, with the packs at the minute, there's well, it's kind of self-explanatory for some, but if you haven't used it before, please just get in touch and we'll talk you through how to actually do it. And if you need us to come out and sit with you and show you how to do it in a safe, a COVID-safe way, we can absolutely do that too. So look at the training weighting exercise, and then if you want to even just give me a call, I can talk you through how to use that. But this will be the stage whenever you've identified solutions and you're looking at costings and putting that in place as well. So we can help you with that, so don't be fearful of it as well. But at this stage, we're going to weigh up what we're doing and make sure that we're getting the best value out of our learning plan. But in terms of your training plan, then when you've got to this stage, the key thing to do is communicate it out. So without going into too much detail and telling you how to communicate with your team, make sure you do one-to-one and one-to-many. Communication methods, usually for communication, they say to use at least 3 methods. Publish your training needs analysis findings at a high level. Now, I don't mean write a book on it. I basically mean do a short report for yourself of what you did to identify the learning needs, what structure you put in place to gather that information going forward, who's responsible for what, and put it somewhere that you'll be able to find it on an ongoing basis. Because trust me, if you do it once, you'll forget where you put that questionnaire, or you'll forget who gave you that information on the latest qualifications for welding, coding, or whatever it might be. So put yourself together, even a one-page report, because you're going to need that going forward. You're going to use that going forward. But also, if you then decide to leave the organisation, and I'm not telling you you've got to write this down as a step-by-step process, but it'd be really useful for whoever it is coming along behind you in the organisation to know what you've done and how you did it, and use that as a process going forward. So try and put together even a one-pager on it. When you put your training plan out there, invite feedback on it. So if you've done training weighting, you'll be able to put a little weighting score on it, and even for that, that's helpful for people to understand why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing it. And it also reduces the need for people to come and remonstrate with you that they're the most important part of the organisation. Why isn't dispatch training first, and why isn't sales training first? Because you've weighed up the needs against the whole organisation. So invite feedback and have those open and honest discussions. And the key thing here is, as you go through the life of the training plan, give regular progress updates. It's really, really important that you go ahead and update the organisation on what you've done, how things have changed, where the new knowledge and skill sets, and how it can be used going forward. Because that's where the most value comes from, and also that will then drive better conversations, bigger conversations, and more engagement with learning as you go through the life cycle of your training plan, and as you come back then to review those learning needs.